Okay, hi there, Yurds. So we are in our last video for our unit on photojournalism, and as we're coming to a close on this unit, we need to talk about something very important having to do with yearbook and covering people with photography. So today we're going to be talking about photojournalism, the ethics and the protocol. So really important that you take notes and that you really do process this information and take it into consideration when you're out shooting, because you're not only representing yourself, but you're representing me and the program. So it's really important that when we're taking photos, we are being ethical and we're being considerate. So that's what we're mainly going to talk about today. So photojournalism ethics, while it may be tempting, it is really, really important because we are doing reporting with our photos that we do not change any of the content of the photos. The photo needs to represent what actually happened. We cannot doctor the photos because then we are not telling a true story visually. We might tell the true story with the written story, but if the photo doesn't tell an accurate or correct story, then we are essentially lying to our viewer, and that is bad. That is not what photojournalism is about. There are exceptions which I will go over in this video when we can doctor and edit things, but in general we try very, very hard not to doctor or change any kind of content in the book. So that includes, very rarely do we ever remove a person or objects using photo editing software like Photoshop. We do not do that. The only time that I would remove a person would be me personally handling that, and that is under a case-by-case basis that usually is agreed upon with admin. We never, ever, ever, ever remove people. Same thing with flipping images. It might not seem like a big deal, but when your viewer realizes that they are sitting on the other side of the room from where they should be, or something has been flipped from what it actually was, then they begin to question what actually is truth in the rest of the book. It takes away the validity with the entire rest of the book. So you don't want to lie to them in one section just because you wanted to have a better layout or you wanted to have the pictures facing the gutter or something like that. You might think it's harmless, and it could be. But then what that tells your viewer is you can't trust us because you don't know what else in the book is truth and what else has been altered. And you don't want to make any content changes. So we don't ever want to doctor somebody's eye color, hair color, color of their outfit, anything like that. We want to take great, high quality representational photos because that's our job. So these code of ethics, this comes from the National Press Photographers Association, which is a professional press photographer association. So what they go by, their code of ethic is to be accurate and comprehensive in the representation of subjects. Resist being manipulated by staged photo opportunities. So it might be tempting to recapture a scene because it happened a certain way and you weren't ready with your your camera. Don't do that because then again you're crafting a fake environment, a fake scene, and while that might be tempting so you can get like the perfect photo, that's not what photojournalism is. You're not actually reporting something that happened naturally. You are altering it, you're making it artificial. You want to avoid stereotyping and representing your own biases in your work. So if you think a certain thing or have a bias towards something, you want to be very conscious of that with your photography. You want to avoid that at all costs. That way people believe that you are balanced and fair with your coverage, which is our goal. We want to treat all subjects with respect and dignity, and that's for sure very important in high school. You guys have a unique opportunity in that you are the chosen ones who get to show and represent exactly what goes in the book. Nobody else gets a say except for you guys. So it's really, really important that we focus on respect and dignity. Think about if you weren't in yearbook and you opened your yearbook that you paid $80, $90, $100 for and you want to cherish for the rest of your life and show to your grandkids one day, and somebody put in a very awful photo of you or a disrespectful photo of you. Can you imagine how harmful that would be and how painful that would be that you know the whole rest of the school is looking at that photo? So really important that you think about respect and dignity. With everything we do, we need to be respectful. We need to protect the pack. It's that Wood Creek Way thing that we talk about all the time. Super important with yearbook because it's such a lasting document that so many people see and matters to so many people. Very important. You don't want to contribute to, alter, or seek to alter or influence events, so you don't want to involve yourself in the event. You just want to be that observer, that fly on the wall that kind of captures the scene unfolding. You don't want to inject yourself in there. You don't want to change the way the order of events might happen. It's like those movies where somebody from the future goes back in the past and they can make a complete different tangent of what the possible future would be. Don't do that as a photographer. Just stay back and watch things unfold and take photos as they go. Don't involve yourself. And you don't want to manipulate images that can mislead viewers or misrepresent your subjects. So again, show things as they actually are. Don't doctor them based on what you want or what you need as a photographer. So in other words, some things to think about: get in on the action, but respect the rights of others. We don't want to get in the way of our coaches, directors, or participants. If they ask you to stop photographing, you stop. You stop. You listen and you stop. You have a press pass. It gives you a lot of power, but we still need to be respectful. If you don't stop, if you're being disrespectful, then what you're doing is you're burning bridges for the program in the future. You're ruining contacts. You're ruining partnerships that we have between us and coaches or us and faculty. You're offending people that then they don't want to work with us in the future. So it's really important that while we have a job to do, that we're very respectful, that we're mature, that we're professional about it. And that's where this ethic discussion comes into play. So that means don't use flash so that's disruptive. There's a lot of cases where we don't want to use flash because it will get in the way of like play, out on the football field, or it will distract students in a classroom. So really important that we know how to take off our flash or change our settings so we don't use flash. You don't want to get in the way of line of sight with players, things like that. You want to be in on the action, but tucked away. So it takes some practice, but you really got to be conscious of where you are, how you're either getting in the way of other people, and just really be respectful. Again, don't interfere or stage action. Communicate with coaches, directors, and participants so they know who you are and what you're doing. Whenever you're working events, as soon as you get that press pass, you must have it at all times. It's what gets you into events. It's what gets you into special areas that normal fans can't get into. So you always have to be identified as press. That means your press pass, and better yet, if you're working an event, once we get those theme shirts, be wearing that theme shirt. Or if we don't have the theme shirts, I have yearbook shirts that you guys can check out, because not everybody is going to take a second to look at your little badge and figure out who the heck you are and why the heck you are doing, what you're doing or where you are. But if you're wearing a nice big shirt that says yearbook right across it, they'll understand more. So always be properly identified, otherwise you're just another face in the crowd that's getting in the way, and they can boot you from the game or from the show, anything they want if you're not properly identified. So when editing, again, we do not alter images or misrepresent individuals or the action of the photo by editing. Minimal edits are okay, so if we need to adjust lighting, or maybe it's too yellow, we need to balance it out, those kind of edits are okay. Cropping is okay as long as it doesn't change the story. That's with cropping. As long as they are minimally enhanced, we don't ever want to flip a photo or doctor it so much that it doesn't tell the true story. So tiny edits, but not a whole lot. So what you need to know as far as our particular Lycos yearbook, I don't know why that's spelled wrong, Lycos. Know your Greek PowerPoint. All right. So what you need to know is before we ever photograph in a class, we need to get approval from that teacher beforehand. That's just common professional courtesy. You may not photograph in the locker rooms unless prior arrangements are made with the coach of that specific team at that specific time. Not a blanket thing. You need to do case-by-case basis and get approval ahead of time. Very important. And you're not allowed into the locker rooms ever when it's class time during school. Ever, ever, ever. Even if you're the same sex as the locker room, if you're a girl and you're photographing girls, that's not okay. You cannot be in the locker rooms. Carte blanche. Don't go in there. You may not photograph the pool area or students in their swimsuits unless you've been granted permission and arranged ahead of time with that PE teacher. This is another huge one that you guys will get in a lot of trouble, and our program will get dinged about if we accidentally or on purpose photograph people in the pool area. And in particular, even if they're walking away from the pool area in their swimsuits, people are very body conscious, and we are not allowed to photograph them unless we have made arrangements with the teacher and the students agree to it ahead of time. So you need to ask them, is it okay if I photograph you? But before you ever do that, you need to talk to the teacher. You must always, always, always wear your press badge when photographing for our class, and you must always be respectful to coaches, players, rooters, and our equipment. Rooters, you need to be respectful to the other team as well. Treat them with the same respect you would our team. If you're on the visitor's sideline, you treat them with just as much respect as our home team. They are guests. Let's welcome them and show them a good time at Wood Creek High School, and that includes being over there as staffers. So here is the exception to the photoshopping rule. There is a type of photography that's called illustration photography, and this is the type of photograph that you are able to Photoshop the heck out of. Photo illustration is very clearly superimposed. The viewer can very clearly tell that a illustration photograph has been doctored. It's not reporting. It's not a journalistic style. It's more of an art photograph. Okay, so that's the exception. We don't really do illustration photography in our yearbook yet. I am open to it. You need to talk to your editors and we'll figure out where it would fit in. There's a time and a place for that. But in general, what's going to be in our book is going to be a reporting style of photography. When we're doing more of a artistic style, like this is like almost a painting in art, this is okay. This is all right because your viewer can definitely tell that this has been Photoshopped. It's not actually happening. It's an art-based form of photography. Here's another example of illustration photography, so you can see very clearly, but it's considered ethical because you're not being sneaky about the Photoshop. You're being very blatant about it. It's very obvious to your viewer. So you're not trying to hide it through your doctoring. You're saying, okay, wide out in the open space, I'm being very obvious that this is doctored because it's an art. It's a piece of art, okay? Big difference. So again, just to really emphasize, you guys, you have to be respectful when you're photographing. This is such a cool photo. I love this. This is going where you don't normally go. However, what the photographer had to think about is she had to get permission from all of these girls to take their photo. And the other thing is, she as the photographer had to control the background a lot and make sure she wasn't showing anything bad with the stall doors being opened, anything like that. This, I would say, is just a little bit staged, but that's okay for the sake of reporting. A yearbook should never, ever, ever, ever embarrass someone, especially if the photo is being taken in what's considered a private place, which a bathroom scene is a private place. I would say generally stay out of the bathroom unless you have a very, very, very good reason for being in there, because we can get sued for photos like this. So you have to be very, very, very careful, and I would say talk to me ahead of time, tell me what your game plan is, and why you would do what you would do and how you would handle it in an ethical and professional way, which is our goal. Okie dokie, guys. Hopefully I stayed under 10 minutes. I can't tell what my time is. Make sure you have some really, really great notes. If you have any questions about the ethics of photography, let me know. I expect all of you guys to be primo #1 students because that's why I accepted you into the program. I background checked every single one of you to make sure you were good to go. So don't let me down because I am trusting you with $1,000 cameras and the program, and I'm just always amazed by what you guys can produce. But when we are creating awesomeness in our book, we need to make sure that we're being ethical, respectful, and that we are holding a high standard for what we want to present in our book. Okay? Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for tuning in, and it's off to writing we go. No more photography. Bye.